well, let's start with this. Trump telling Starmer how to win the election. Check this out.
Politics is pretty simple. I assume there's a thing going on between you and Nigel, and it's okay. It's two parties. But generally speaking, the one who cuts taxes the most, the one who gives you the lowest energy prices and the best kind of energy, the one that keeps you out of wars. He's kept you out of wars. But the one that keeps you out of wars, you have a few basics, and you can go back 1,000 years, 1,000,000 years, whoever does these things, but low taxes, keep us safe, keep us out of wars, no crime, stop the crime.
Donald Trump didn't just humiliate Keir Starmer this week, he exposed him live on television in front of millions. And what started as a polite diplomatic meeting at Trump's Turnberry resort has now spiralled into one of the most shocking public embarrassments in modern Anglo-American politics. If you thought the special relationship between the US and the UK was already strained, hit subscribe. Because what's happening right now goes far beyond diplomacy. It's a political earthquake that could split Britain's government down the middle, ignite a rural revolt, and rewrite the balance of power across the Atlantic.
And in your case, a big immigration component, because I know that your attitude has become strong on immigration, strong on the toughness of immigration. But I think whoever's going to be, I think I won because we had a lousy president, to be honest with you. We had an incompetent president. But I won because I was very strong on immigration.
Let's start with the moment everything changed.
Stopping immigration and stopping the wrong people, I give my hats are off to you. You're doing not a good thing, you're doing a fantastic thing. So I know nothing about the boats. But if the boats are loaded up with bad people, and they usually are, because, other countries don't send their best.
We just signed an agreement to return them, and we've returned 35,000, in fact, out of the first year of this Labour government, of people who shouldn't be in this country. So we're very pleased that we're getting on with returning people who've got no right to be here.
Europe is a much different place than it was just 5 years ago, 10 years ago. And they've got to get their act together. If they don't, you're not going to have Europe anymore.
Tuesday morning, Turnberry, Scotland, cameras rolling. The American president and the British Prime Minister standing shoulder to shoulder, forced smiles, microphones glinting in the light. Trump interrupts the scripted small talk and unleashes. "You're killing your farmers, Keir," he says. "You've taxed them to death. You've taken their land. You've done what no American president would ever do." The clip went viral in seconds. The shock on Starmer's face, priceless. Trump wasn't reading off notes. He was improvising, raw, unfiltered, brutal. The former reality TV star turned global power player delivering a televised lecture to Britain's Prime Minister about how to run his own country. And it worked. Within hours, hashtags like #Trump humiliates Starmer and #Farmers Fight Back were trending across X, TikTok and YouTube. The optics were devastating. A global superpower president reducing Britain's leader to silence on live television. And here's the kicker. Trump wasn't just trolling. He was tapping into a genuine political firestorm that's tearing Britain's countryside apart. You see, while Trump spent his first term slashing inheritance taxes for farmers, eliminating what he called the death tax, Starmer's Labour government has done the opposite. Chancellor Rachel Reeves's October budget quietly removed long-standing inheritance tax reliefs for agricultural land. It means that when British farmers die, their children could face tax bills worth hundreds of thousands, even millions, just to keep the land they grew up on. In Trump's America, farmers are protected. In Starmer's Britain, they're punished. And Trump knew exactly what he was doing when he brought that up on camera. He didn't need to say much, just one line, one comparison, one smirk to trigger a political explosion. Because right now, Britain's countryside is on the brink of revolt. Over 6,000 farms have closed in the last 12 months, the highest number in decades. The NFU warns of mental health crises among rural families who fear losing everything to Labour's tax changes. Protests in Whitehall last November drew tens of thousands. Farmers waving placards reading "Hands off our land," "No tax on family farms," and "Save rural Britain." Even Jeremy Clarkson of Clarkson's Farm told reporters this could be the end of British farming as we know it. So when Trump said live on air that farmers were being driven to suicide under similar tax regimes and that he had ended the estate tax to save them, the emotional contrast hit hard. Here was the leader of the free world standing up for the rural working class, while Britain's own Prime Minister stood there speechless. And Trump didn't stop there. With cameras still rolling, he leaned in and added, "Keir, you should cut taxes. You've got Nigel Farage breathing down your neck. You keep this up, he'll take your job." You could hear a pin drop, and that line, spontaneous, devastating and completely unscripted, ricocheted through Westminster like a thunderclap. Trump didn't just criticise policy, he effectively endorsed Starmer's biggest rival live on television. Within minutes, Nigel Farage was trending again, calling the moment the most honest political statement of the year. Reform UK's social media team cut together the clip with dramatic music and bold captions. Trump speaks truth to power. And it went viral overnight. But here's what makes this even more explosive. Trump's jab wasn't random, it was strategic. The man who helped ignite Brexit is now reshaping Britain's political map from across the Atlantic. Again, by calling out Starmer's tax raid on farmers, Trump has handed Reform UK a ready-made campaign narrative. The global champion of free enterprise backing Britain's countryside against an out-of-touch Labour elite. The response in rural communities has been electric. Farm unions, countryside associations and online influencers are rallying around Trump's remarks as proof that Labour doesn't get rural life. Farmers are uploading TikToks thanking Trump for saying what no one else will. Even former Conservative voters, disillusioned by years of broken promises, are now flocking to Reform's cause. Starmer's team is panicking. According to insiders, Labour strategists spent the night after the Turnberry incident in emergency meetings at Downing Street. Communications chiefs drafted statements insisting that the new tax would affect only the wealthiest estates, but the message isn't landing. Polling among rural voters collapsed by 8 points in 48 hours. Hashtags like #LabourHatesFarmers and #RuralRevolt surged. Even within Labour's own ranks, MPs from farming constituencies like Cumbria and Devon are quietly warning the Prime Minister he's losing the countryside for a generation. Meanwhile, Trump's media machine is milking the humiliation for everything it's worth. Fox News replayed the clip under the headline, "Trump Schools Starmer." American talk radio hosts mocked Starmer as the man who taxed tractors. And Elon Musk, never one to resist a political brawl, posted the video to his 170 million followers with the caption, "This is what leadership looks like." Musk has already declared war on Starmer's government before, accusing it of censorship, hypocrisy and anti-free speech policies. Now he's doubling down. Multiple insiders suggest Musk is in talks with Reform UK donors to boost their digital infrastructure and expand their social media reach. A potential game changer in Britain's next election cycle. Back in Westminster, the Labour spin machine is crumbling. Officials tried to frame Trump's comments as undiplomatic and misinformed, but it only made things worse. When Rachel Reeves appeared on BBC Breakfast to clarify the policy, she was grilled about the closure of thousands of farms and whether Labour had declared war on rural Britain. The segment went viral for all the wrong reasons. Meanwhile, international observers are stunned. European diplomats are whispering that Starmer's credibility has been fatally undermined. British ambassadors privately admit that Washington has gone cold since Trump's return. One senior diplomat put it bluntly, the Americans aren't picking up the phone anymore. This isn't just about farmers or inheritance tax anymore. This is about power and humiliation. Because for Trump, politics is personal. He never forgets who crosses him. And Starmer made that mistake years ago when Labour figures mocked Trump as a dangerous narcissist and threat to democracy. Now the payback has arrived, live, televised and surgical. But the fallout is spreading faster than anyone expected. Hours after the Turnberry debacle, Trump's allies in Congress began floating new proposals to review trade privileges for Britain, citing unfriendly agricultural policies. US farm lobbies, emboldened by Trump's remarks, are demanding that American grain exporters get priority over British producers in future trade deals. If tariffs or restrictions follow, the consequences for Britain's already fragile economy could be catastrophic. And here's where it gets darker. Multiple reports now suggest that Trump's advisors are pushing for the UK to be excluded from upcoming transatlantic energy agreements unless Starmer reverses course on his green subsidies and anti-oil agenda. The message is clear: fall in line or pay the price. Inside Labour, panic has turned to infighting. Whispers of leadership challenges are circulating again. Wes Streeting, Angela Rayner, even Yvette Cooper are rumoured to be quietly gauging support. Their argument is simple: Starmer has become politically toxic, both at home and abroad. Meanwhile, rural protests are escalating. This week, hundreds of tractors blocked roads near Birmingham and Bristol, waving Union Jacks and Trump 2024 flags side by side. Police called it the largest coordinated rural protest in a decade. Farmers chanted, "No tax on life, no tax on land," as they marched on local Labour offices. The optics are devastating. A British Prime Minister under siege from his own countryside, being outflanked by a foreign president who's winning hearts and minds thousands of miles away, and Trump, ever the showman, is feeding the fire. In a televised Fox interview, he grinned when asked about the Turnberry moment. "Keir's a nice guy," he said, "but he doesn't understand farmers. You can't tax people who grow your food. You don't punish the backbone of your country." Then, in classic Trump style, he added, "You know, maybe they should send Nigel to talk to me next time." He gets it. That single line was a diplomatic hand grenade. Within hours, Nigel Farage was trending again. Reform UK released a statement thanking Trump for his support for Britain's forgotten people. Tory MPs looked on in horror as polls showed Reform surging into double digits. Even the Daily Telegraph, once solidly conservative, ran the headline, "Trump backs Britain's farmers as Starmer stumbles." Behind closed doors, Labour officials admit they're terrified that the rural revolt could spread. They won the last election by flipping small town and countryside seats once considered unwinnable. But that fragile coalition is now collapsing. Polling suggests that 2/3 of rural voters believe Labour neither understands nor respects countryside values. The economic fallout is already starting to bite. Reports indicate that investment in British agricultural land has plummeted since the tax announcement. Banks are tightening lending to farm businesses, fearing foreclosures. Food prices, already strained by inflation, are projected to rise another 5% by Christmas. And yet Starmer's government insists it's all part of a fairness agenda. But to millions of working families, it feels like betrayal. Elites in Westminster lecturing those who feed the nation. Meanwhile, across the Atlantic, Trump is basking in the spotlight. His approval ratings among American farmers have hit record highs. US media portrays him as the defender of traditional values against woke globalists. And every time Britain's press tries to fact-check him, his base only grows stronger. The psychological dynamic is fascinating and terrifying. Trump knows that humiliation is more powerful than policy. By turning Starmer into a global punchline, he's achieved what no opposition leader in Britain could. He's shattered the image of competence that Labour built its brand on. And yet, beneath the spectacle, there's a deeper question, one that Britain can't afford to ignore. What happens when a Prime Minister loses not just the confidence of his people, but the respect of his allies? The UK has long depended on its special relationship with the United States for military, economic and diplomatic clout. If that bond fractures, and it's fracturing now, Britain risks becoming just another European state adrift in a world dominated by superpowers. And Trump knows it, Starmer fears it, the markets sense it. Every insult, every ignored phone call, every viral clip deepens the damage. And while Labour scrambles to contain the narrative, the story has already taken on a life of its own. Trump's televised humiliation wasn't just a political moment, and it was a turning point. A reminder that power in the modern age isn't just about policy, it's about perception. And right now, the perception is brutal. America's president commanding the room, and Britain's leader standing silent, shamed and small. The consequences are only beginning. Farmers are mobilising, Labour MPs are panicking, international investors are watching, and Trump, never one to miss an opportunity, is already planning his next move. Because for Donald Trump, this isn't just about taxes or trade, it's about revenge, respect, and the reassertion of American dominance. And for Keir Starmer, it's the beginning of a political nightmare that no amount of spin can fix. The humiliation was public. The consequences will be historic. So here's the question. Has Britain's Prime Minister just lost the most important friendship in world politics? Has the people's champion across the Atlantic just aligned himself with Britain's forgotten farmers against their own government? And can Labour survive the fury of a countryside that now feels betrayed, mocked and abandoned? Let me know what you think in the comments. Has Trump just rewritten the rules of British politics again? Or is this just another diplomatic drama that will fade with time? Either way, one thing's certain, the fallout has only just begun. If you want to stay ahead of this story and the next wave of political shockwaves it's about to unleash, make sure you like, share and subscribe, because the Trump-Starmer showdown isn't over.